Hey, welcome to Worship Leader Wednesday, a series by Worship Tutorials, where Fuller and I give you practical advice to help you become a better worship leader right now, today. Stuff you can do this afternoon even.
Immediately.
Yeah, which is great. And if you want to go even further as a worship leader, we have a course called the Worship Manual. Volume 1 is available today to purchase. There's a link below.
So in today's video, we're continuing our two-part series on how to navigate changes that you're not necessarily that excited about, that maybe is coming from a different source other than you, that you are now having to own and implement. And so in our last video, we covered the first three, which were the deep ones, you know, kind of figuring out how you're going to navigate this thing. These next three tips, 4, 5, and 6, are extremely important, a part of the process of actually how to do those changes.
Right.
And the order at which you do them is extremely important.
It's important, huh?
So tip number 4 on this practical side of how to navigate change is have an honest, humble conversation with your leader. Okay? This is not with other people on your team. This is not with outside sources. This is now that you've realized all of the other things, that I've sought wise counsel, I've made sure that I'm not going against my convictions. Now I need to move forward and own this thing. Yeah. And so I'm going to sit down with the pastor or whoever it is that's leading the change, could be your executive pastor or the board, and you now need to get information from them. Yeah. You need to start, at this point, changing your heart. And you need to start getting on the other side of it, knowing that this is the way you're going and this is what you're going to have to lead through. You need information, you need vision, you need the why. You need to be able to sit down and honestly, a conversation, something like this, maybe over lunch or coffee, and say, okay, I'm at a place now where I'm ready to move forward with this change. Yeah. I'll be honest with you, I struggled with it initially. And I was really battling because I didn't feel like it was, what we needed to do. But I'm now at a place where I believe that this is something God's calling us to do. Yeah. But I need to understand why. I need to understand what you want to see with this change. What are the results? Why are we doing this? Because you got to start wrapping your mind around being on the other side of it so that you can be excited about it and so you can buy into it. And a byproduct of this conversation might actually be that you actually get a little inspiration, that you actually start to get a little bit excited about something that you weren't before because you now know something or you see a side of it that is starting to kind of make sense to you. And I do believe that the Holy Spirit also works in this moment as well.
If you think about this, like this is what a lot of times when so we made the video 2 weeks ago about how to make a change that you want, right? Like something you're
Those
excited
are fun.
About. Yeah, but probably not everybody on your team will be excited about it.
No.
And they will then have to go through what you're going through now in this.
Why are we doing this?
And so hopefully those people will have conversations with you. Yeah. Right? Just like you are with your leader.
Yes.
And hopefully you can communicate to them why it is that we're doing this change, what's making you excited about it. So in the same way that you can sort of inspire your team member who might not be on board with the change that you're excited about, hopefully in that same way, when you talk to your leader, they can inject some of their enthusiasm into you and get you on board. And like Fuller said, you can come away from this type of a conversation sort of with a renewed mind and spirit about what it is that you're going to do.
Yeah. It's what leaders do. Yeah. It's basic leadership, and as leaders, we have the obligation to do this. It's the opposite of just taking your ball and going home and saying, I'm not going to do this. Right. That's what immature people do, but leaders figure out a way to make it happen.
Number 5 is where sort of the rubber meets the road if you've been struggling with something along the way, and it's to humbly submit to leadership who is in charge of you, to the change that you've been asked to make that you might not want to.
The difference between humbly submitting and just submitting. Submitting is, fine, I'll do it. Yeah. But I'm not going to like it.
Yeah, that's the wrong attitude.
That is a terrible attitude. Humbly submitting is going, you know what? I'm going to do it. Based on the conversation we just had, I've got enough of the information that I need to humbly get behind this and say, you know what? Because it's important, and John Maxwell talks about this a lot. When you leave a room, it shouldn't be us and them. It should always be we. Yeah. And so if my pastor is asking me to do something, by the time I leave tip number 4, when I leave that conversation talking to him, I'm leaving the room saying, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
This is not something pastor wants. And this is critical.
Yeah.
Our language and our vocabulary is so critical to our leadership.
Yeah.
If Brian comes to me and says, hey, pastor wants to do this, or pastor wants to do this song, but regardless of how he approaches me, he's already making it us and them, as opposed to, hey guys, we're going to do this.
Yeah.
Hey guys, we're going to
big
change
difference.
this. Hey guys, we're going to do this. And when you add that we, you are creating unity, and the enemy hates that. But you will see amazing things happen in your church. So change, I don't know what kind of language you use, but I want to encourage all worship leaders everywhere to get away from the I or us or they. And it's always we, no matter what you're doing. Our church is having a children's event. We're doing this. Yeah. We're going to have bounce houses. Yeah. We're going to have these things, not there. And I think that is a critical piece of this conversation. That's where the humbly submitting really is important, because you got to believe that.
Yeah. I know a lot of you are going through this because I see a lot of you complain about it.
Yes.
On Facebook.
And lots of comments. Yes.
Right? And that might be hard for you to hear. If you're the one complaining. But I'm a member, and I'm pretty active in some large worship leader groups on Facebook, and constantly I see people complaining about what their pastor is asking, or what their church is asking them to do.
Yeah.
And in that situation, and this might be hard to hear, but it's indicative of poor leadership at some level.
Yeah.
Because it's either you as the complainer are not exercising very good leadership because you are creating that division. And you might think that it's anonymous, that it's on, it's in a closed group on Facebook. Yeah. My pastor's not going to see it. Like, once that stuff is out there, even if it's in a closed group, it gets out. Because look at me, here I am talking about you
exactly
on a not small YouTube channel.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
But it's not glorifying to God or your position as a leader or your leader in the church who's imposing this on you. So it's either poor leadership there or poor leadership on the part of your leader, because they haven't led you through this change that well. So I just want to encourage you, if you're thinking about, your hands are on the keyboard, venting into a closed Facebook group of worship leaders that's about 20,000 large, okay, I would just encourage you not to.
Yeah.
Like, that's what we talked about in the last video.
Step 2 is for that. If you go back and watch the last video, seek wise counsel.
Yeah, that's
where you vent. Yeah. That's where you get in a room with a guy that has known you since you were 5 and that trusts you and is not tied to your church, and you say, I can't believe they're making me do this and blah, 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 and I'm blah, blah, blah. That's where you vent and get it all out in a safe place.
Yeah.
Because that's human nature, right? We want to be heard. We want to vent. It's okay to vent.
Yeah.
But the place that you vent is critical. And that's what makes great leaders great leaders. Yes. It smells, man. Whenever I see comments and people are like, man, my pastor, blah, 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 I'm like, something doesn't smell right. It can't be all his problem. Or her problem, And so, as leaders, we gotta put on our big boy pants, man. Yeah, and we gotta be able to deal with stuff.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
And there's instant gratification there, because you will get 100 comments of people who are like,
man,
that sounds terrible. I would leave, and maybe it is time for you to leave.
Could be. That's a whole other separate topic.
We did that video series also.
Seriously.
But just be careful about that, because you want to honor the person who is in leadership over you, even if you don't agree with what they're asking you to do. There are ways to navigate through that, and it's not in front of thousands and thousands of people on Facebook.
Yeah. You'll not gain anything out of it.
Sorry for that. That was a rant that I just went down. Yeah. And if I stepped on your toes, I apologize, but they'll be fine.
So the final tip, after you have gone to your person and talked to them one-on-one, got vision, got ideas, after you have humbly submitted, you're at the final step. Like, congratulations, you're at step number 6. Step number 6 is own the change. Yeah. I kind of talked about this earlier, but this is not something you're a robot, you are now going to implement all of these changes that other people want. No, you leave the room going, I'm owning this change. It's as if it was coming from me. And here's the hard part. It's as if it was your idea.
Yeah.
We are so afraid to own other people's ideas because it's like, well, what if it's not successful?
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, it might not work.
Yeah.
But
it might really be a bad idea.
It might be. But here's the best part of this, Brian,
Yeah.
and this is the part that I get so excited about. After you humbly submit, after you own it, after you lead through it, and the whole thing fails, you get to go back to those people, and they see you as an amazing leader.
Yeah.
Because they go, you know what? You were right. Because
you're talking about the leadership that you had the honest conversation with?
They get to go back to you because they know all of the things because you've talked about them. But you know what? Now they have so much respect for you because even though you knew it might not have been a great idea, you did all the right things, you were a phenomenal leader, and you were part of the solution, not the problem.
Yeah.
That gains you so much leadership equity, so much relational equity. It gains trust. It gains honor, and you don't have to do anything.
And now, I guarantee you, the next idea you have that you
they're going to probably listen a little bit closer.
They're going to listen to you.
That's how you earn your voice. People want influence. People want, I have a title now, so I'm going to make... The titles mean nothing. You have to earn leadership. Leadership is influence. And then on the flip side of the coin, if the idea is amazing and it works,
you're part of it.
You're not only part of it, but you learn something and you go, man, I don't know everything.
Right.
And then that you now gain more respect for your leaders. And then the next time you're in the situation, it's actually easier to do.
Right.
And that's a great place to be. Listen, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Whether it works or not. What matters is how you conduct yourself, how the church, how God's people conduct their relationships together. We're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to come up with terrible ideas. You know, hey, that 30-piece kazoo orchestra was a terrible idea. Never doing that again.
Actually.
You know, and it's like, man, best thing I ever did was implement pads. You know, it's like there's going to be victories and there's going to be losses along the way.
Yeah.
Those things don't ultimately really matter, but what really matters is who we are.
Yeah.
As people, as leaders, and that there's no substitute for that. And that over time, these situations working themselves out over time is what makes ministries amazing.
Thanks so much for watching. Hey, we'd love to hear from you in the comments. Again, like I said earlier, don't trash on your senior pastor in the comments. But hey, if this is something you're going through,
we will delete you.
If this is something you're going through, let's go through stuff like this together.
Yeah.
So you can leave comments here on YouTube. Subscribe if you haven't. We got more of these coming every Wednesday. Hence the name. But we also have a Facebook group. I ranted on Facebook groups earlier. We have a Facebook group. We
love them.
Yeah.
Can't get enough. I'm a part of 30 of them.
Where you can be in community with other worship leaders. It's called WT Leaders. We'll have a link for that below. We're going to be posting these Worship Leader Wednesday videos there, where we can have conversation around them on Facebook, which is probably where a lot of you are anyway, all the time. So I know that my phone tells me I spend way too much time on Facebook. I don't know about yours.
Screen tracker.
But anyway, join us there in community, and we'll see you in the next video.